Sex and seduction evolve alongside technology. This has been true since the first sculptors carved fertility figurines from mammoth tusks. From the printing press to the VHS, porn has been the first use case for basically every visual medium in human history. It shoulders risks, proves concepts, and paves the way for what we see as more legitimate use cases. But lately, due to the combination of corporate greed, dysfunctional sexual dynamics, and social isolation, porn has become the end goal for some tech trees rather than merely an early adopter. A dangerous trend that, if left unchecked, could lead humanity into a hedonic death spiral. But I'm no Luddite. I'm a techno-optimist, and I don't think the solution is to take a vow of internet celibacy. It's to figure out how to harness our basic urges to drive real innovation instead of letting it be weaponized against us for profit. So in this video, I'm going to bust out a brief history of porn-driven innovation, map the mechanisms behind the pornification of the internet, and share some solutions for how we can co-evolve with technology, rather than letting it snuff us out as a species entirely. Hi there! If it's your first time here, I'm a cognitive scientist and internet researcher, and this channel is dedicated to how technology is rewiring connection, attention, and identity. We have a lot of science, technology, and yes, porn to cover, so make sure you subscribe if you like this kind of content, and let's get into the video. Most of the first use cases of new technology, from the pencil to the camera, were the production of erotic images. Humans discover clay, fertility figurines, pigments and primitive brushes, sensual cave paintings. Given how deeply embedded sexuality is in human psychology, it's not surprising that some of the first instances of artistic expression had to do with sex. Giggity! But the real story isn't about the art itself. It's about the pattern of what happens every time a new technology emerges. In 1839, Louis Daguerre created the daguerreotype, the first widely available form of the photograph. Quick quiz time. If photography became available in 1839, what year do you think the first nude was taken? The answer is the same year, 1839. Artists began using this technology to create nude reference photos for painters, but it immediately became clear that there was other demand for these early nudes. Et voila! Within just a few years, there was a full-blown dark market for nude daguerreotypes as porn. The lag between the incredible feat of we can capture reality and we can sexualize it is basically zero. In 1896, the French Lumiere brothers invented the cinematograph to create the first short films in history. And how fast did film get used for porn? Once again, basically immediately. Less than a year from the conception of motion pictures, Le Coucher de la Mariée, Bedtime for the Bride, was screened in Paris in 1896 and is widely cited as one of the first ever erotic films ever made. The explicitness of erotic films increased at a rapid pace, and although laws were quickly passed prohibiting their distribution, these early erotic movies, called stag films, boomed in popularity from the 1900s to the 1950s, where they were shown illegally in all male spaces such as clubs and smokers' joints. You've got mail porn. These films were the R&D wing of cinema, testing what audiences would pay for, how to distribute controversial content, and how to monetize desire. The porn industry figured out film distribution networks, exhibition venues, and business models years before Hollywood ever standardized them. On to print and early computing. In 1953, the first issue of Playboy was published. But what you might not know is that at the exact same time, one of the first digital images ever created was a Playboy pinup on the Sage computer system. Porn was already beta testing digital imaging on the world's first computing systems. Pretty hot. Fast forward to the 1980s. VHS versus Betamax. You've probably heard Sony's Betamax was technically superior, but VHS won, and part of the reason for that is the porn industry chose VHS. A 2006 Macworld article interviewed Steve Hirsch, founder of Vivid Entertainment, one of the biggest adult studios, and he said that in the 1980s,
We pushed VHS harder, and in that sense, we did have something to do with VHS winning out.
At this time, adult film was a $57 billion a year industry, and even from behind a crusty curtain, their decision mattered. When adult film distributors committed to VHS for its longer recording time and lower licensing costs, they made the decision for everyone. Billions of dollars in consumer electronics hinged on which format could deliver adult content more effectively. In the 1990s, we started building the internet's infrastructure. When the web went mainstream, adult sites were stress testing the internet. Porn sites were among the first to take credit card payments online, and early processors said many of the initial e-commerce clients were adult businesses. In 1999, Forrester Research estimated people spent about $1.3 billion on online porn, around 8% of all e-commerce that year, more than books or airline tickets. That kind of money forced the industry to figure out secure payments, fraud checks, and basic age gating long before Shopify or Stripe ever existed. They did the same with business models and bandwidth. Porn companies were early adopters of monthly subscriptions, pay-per-view clips, affiliate programs, and pop-up ads. Wired flat out credits them with pioneering much of early internet marketing. A 2016 internet traffic study published in the International Conference on Distributed Computing Systems estimated that roughly 12% of all websites contain adult content. 12%, with more monthly unique visitors than Netflix, Twitter, and Amazon combined, and at least 15% of US mobile video traffic coming from adult content. And that was in 2016. At that scale, porn had to develop sophisticated, robust content, delivery networks, caching, and video compression. The exact infrastructure patterns that Netflix, YouTube, and Spotify later industrialized. Porn proved that online payments, subscriptions, and large-scale video streaming were both technically and commercially viable, shouldering a lot of the early risk that mainstream platforms would later build empires on. In the 2000s, tube sites like Pornhub basically road-tested the model YouTube would later normalize. The endless grids of thumbnails, autoplay, recommendations, comments, tags, and search. Those design patterns stress-tested on porn became the blueprint for almost every attention-maximizing platform we're addicted to today. And this isn't some janky side project. Pornhub says it now hosts around 11 petabytes of video, and in 2018 alone, transferred about 4,403 petabytes of data, roughly 12.7 petabytes per day, or around 147 gigabytes every single second. Running one of the most sophisticated consumer video backend distribution systems on the public internet. In the 2010s, when smartphones exploded, porn sites were some of the first to truly optimize for mobile, solving vertical video, discrete interfaces, and privacy controls. By the mid-2010s, analyses were already finding that over half of all porn traffic was coming from mobile devices, climbing to around 80% by the 2020s. All of these important design patterns for mobile content consumption were trialed at scale in adult first. They proved that people would watch vertically, in ultra-short bursts, in private moments throughout the day. Sound familiar? That's now your TikTok or IG Reel feed. From around 2015 to now, porn also had a hand in developing the modern creator economy. 65% of Gen Z report that their dream job is influencer or creator. Yet only a tiny fraction of even full-time content creators are able to make a living doing it. OnlyFans launched in 2016 and solved the creator monetization problem for anyone with an Instagram or TikTok willing to show some toes. It was the culmination of decades of development in parasocial relationships, microtransactions, and the creator economy. The platform proved you could monetize the relationship itself, not just the content. For a long time, even influencers with millions of followers had to have a day job, but by proving out the subscription model for parasocial relationships, OnlyFriends paved the way for every influencer, fitness coach, journalist to have a Patreon or Substack or fitness app or other subscription-based plan to monetize their creations online using the exact same tactics as OF creators. The pornification is now complete. We have all become content creators performing intimacy for subscribers. Heck, I'm doing it right now. Is it working?
Is it? Is this intimate enough for you?
Porn scrappily proves and invents technology. It takes financial risks on emerging platforms, figures out monetization, solves distribution problems, and establishes user behaviors that eventually become mainstream when everyone else is too risk-averse. So what does this mean for us as users of technology? Something happened along the way of all of these inventions. The mechanics escaped containment. In 2024, researchers conducted a network analysis of over 2,300 pornography users and identified specific behavioral patterns that the technology actively enables. They called them tab jumping, edging, and pornographic binges. And if those terms sound familiar, well, keep watching. Tab jumping hijacks the desire for novelty. Edging keeps you on the platform longer. And binging ensures you come back tomorrow. These same mechanics map exactly onto social media. TikTok, swipe up, not quite right. Swipe up again, maybe the next one. The algorithm learns what makes you pause for half a second longer and feeds you almost what you want, but not quite. That's tab jumping, baby. We're just doing it vertically now. These aren't coincidences. Research in Business Ethics Quarterly laid it all out. Social media platforms are intentionally designed to be addictive, exploiting user vulnerabilities the same way casinos engineer slot machines. But casinos didn't invent these mechanics. Porn sites did. Let's talk Intro to Neuroscience 101, the addiction machine, for a second, because it's my favorite made-up class. We all think we know about dopamine as a driver in this race, but there's way more happening than we realize. Yes, dopamine is involved. Your ventral striatum lights up with anticipation every time you might find something rewarding, but dopamine creates wanting. This goes deeper. You know oxytocin, the bonding hormone, released during sex, cuddling, intimate connection? Yeah, your brain also releases it during parasocial interactions. When it feels like a content creator is talking directly to you, when an AI chatbot remembers your birthday, when someone's thirst trap makes you feel like you might actually have a chance. Your prefrontal cortex knows intellectually this isn't real, but your limbic system, it's releasing oxytocin like you just went on a successful first date. We're all literally bonding with our phone. Then there's cortisol. When you're doom scrolling or can't find the right video or anxiously checking notifications, your stress hormones spike. You feel tension and then you find it. The perfect post, cortisol drops. Dopamine spikes. Your brain experiences that as relief. The platform created the problem and solved it, and now you're just Pavlov's dog drooling into your iPhone. So if all of this is baked into the technology we're using every single day, it's important to look into how this affects us neurologically. The dopamine driving hunt, the oxytocin creating fake intimacy, cortisol manufacturing anxiety that only the app can resolve, and your prefrontal cortex is just too tired from work, life, and existence to stop any of this from happening. Most people like to say we are being manipulated by social media, but in reality, we're being manipulated by porn mechanics wearing a social media costume. Engagement and user retention are just euphemisms for the mechanics of addiction. Now onto my favorite section, the what do we do about it segment. Let's go over a few basic rules to follow so you can be your most productive self on the internet. There are two buckets of solutions here. The personal bucket, what we as individuals can control by acknowledging our tendencies and changing our behavior, and the builder bucket, how product developers can engineer tools that disrupt these porn-derived behavioral cycles and protect us from temptation. First tip, clock the addictive cycles. You can't change behavior if you don't recognize it. Shame yourself when you've fallen into a doom scroll, or better yet, if you're trying to be productive, make a rule that your phone cannot be near you. Throw it out the window if you have to. The second is Lauren's rule. Never open an app or tab without knowing exactly what you're there to do. If you can name the task, you can both decide whether you actually need to be there and recognize when you've actually done it so you can leave. That might look like opening Notion to refine today's to-dos, then closing it once that's finished, or opening Instagram to decompress for 10 minutes and actually stopping after those 10 minutes. That tiny act of intention hands the wheel back to you and puts you in control of your time and online life instead of letting your apps drive. Tip number 3 is reverse engineer the tab jumping phenom mentioned earlier by literally ending every workday with a close all tabs ritual. I'm looking at you, Mr. or Mrs. 55 tabs open. I know where you live. I might struggle with this one. This process eliminates distraction and clutter and keeps you focused on what needs to be done so your brain doesn't wander from tab to tab. As for builders, there is both growing demand and supply for tools that help users stop the scroll and break addictive patterns. We are finally getting software and even some hardware that treats your attention like an endangered species instead of an all-you-can-eat buffet. On the hardware side, this nifty product you may have heard of called Brick makes you physically tap a little puck before your phone will open certain apps, or at all if you so choose. So your lizard brain has to get past a tiny little bouncer first. Adding a step between action and gratification is an opportunity for you to second guess. Do I really need to open Instagram right now, or should I be doing something that actually makes my life better? We have app tracking software that can either alert you to your poor use of time or stop you from accessing certain sites altogether. Opal acts like a digital chaperone, quietly blocking your usual trouble apps during focus sessions and then reporting back with receipts about how often you tried to sneak away into TikTok or Pornland. Porn recovery apps such as Fortify, BrainBuddy, Remojo add friction right at the moment of impulse, reflect your patterns back to you, and then push you toward actual humans or healthier habits instead of another incognito tab. Exist is a great new community journaling app that designs with this exact principle in mind. Ask a question and let others see how each user responds. This brings a feeling of connectedness and can help people feel less alone. We need to start seeing more of this intentionality from software developers. Even social platforms are begrudgingly starting to implement some guardrails. Instagram realized only a tiny slice of usage was people looking at actual friends. For those of you who don't remember, that was the entire point of social media. How quickly that was forgotten. So now you get a Friends tab that tries to drag your attention back toward your real social graph instead of the global thirst trap and ad feed. Software developers build where there is money, yes, but also where the need is. And as we as a society demand more need for productivity, growth, and connection to ourselves and others, the tech will follow. These companies, and the fact that you're watching up until this point of this video, shows that people want this, and that it is possible to design for connection over compulsion, and make mindless solo scrolling just annoying enough that we choose better uses of our precious and limited time in this meat world.
They are made out of meat.
Meat?
There's no doubt about it. They are completely meat.
It's impossible.
We live on an internet basically held together by horny engineering, but that doesn't mean you are consigned to the hedonic death spiral. If porn helped propagate cameras, film, VHS, the modern web, streaming, mobile, UX, and the creator economy, then the same raw drive that built this whole circus can absolutely be pointed at something healthier. I'm not asking you to become a digital monk. I am saying if desire is this powerful, maybe it should be working for you instead of being mined out of you for ad revenue. So here's your homework. And I want you to actually answer these in the comments. When you opened YouTube, what were you here to get? Have you gotten it? Are you using this technology to move toward connection, or are you letting it drag you into another anonymous dopamine hole? If an outsider watched a stream of your last 24 hours online, would it look like the life you chose or a life that advertisers chose for you? Am I being too hopeful about us reclaiming this stuff, or are you actually down to help build and demand a different kind of internet? Drop your answers below, and if you want more content about how our weird little monkey brains and our very advanced machines are colliding, hit subscribe, and if you made it all the way to the end of this video, drop a "You've got Foid." It helps the algo push this to other people interested in this kind of content and makes me happy. As always, Thanks for watching. Click on one of the other videos over here on the screen if you want to learn more, and I hope you lovely sillies have a great day.
Goodbye.